50 retired foreign ministers from Europe issued a statement saying that this plan is not a good plan for peace. It is far away from peace, should be rejected, and the global consensus on ending the occupation and the two-state solution should be the plan to be the basis for a solution to the conflict, and that is the position of everyone. We are not looking for new plans, because there is one plan that receives global consensus that calls for the end of occupation, two-state solution on the basis of the parameters that are known to all of us, meaning on the basis of international law and UN resolutions. What we need is not new plan. What we need is a mechanism to implement the will of the international community. That's why we suggested 2 years ago, and we reiterated that suggestion when President Abbas came to the Security Council a few weeks ago. We want an international conference under the auspices of the UN, specifically with the inclusions of members of the Security Council and others, in order to find ways to end the occupation and to allow for the independence of the State of Palestine. And we ask all of you to help us in that direction so that we can accomplish that objective. Let me just also tell you that we have a problem internally. There is a dark chapter in our history, which is the divisions among the Palestinians. Our national priority requires that this division between us and our brothers in the Gaza Strip, specifically between us and our brothers in Hamas, we need to put an end to this division yesterday, not today, not tomorrow, because united we succeed, divided we cannot face this aggression that we are facing. So all of you who can contribute in a positive way to help us to put our house in order and to accomplish this national unity, including allowing us to have election of all parts of the occupied state of Palestine, meaning in the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem, for those of goodwill who can help us to accomplish that objective. We appreciate that effort. We do not need to deepen the division. We need to put an end to it and to address and to start the healing process that was created, the problem that was created as a result of the division. And I believe there is a serious effort among Palestinian groups and forces led by our president to try to accomplish putting an end to this division, and that would be a very, very strong element in our strategy to confront the President Trump plan and to defeat it and to succeed in putting an end to this occupation. On that note, I just want to reiterate that we are so proud of the fact that this conference is being convened at this very important moment in Kuala Lumpur. We have many friends in this region, and we have friends in many corners of the globe. We need collectively this time to succeed in not allowing this plan by President Trump to put an end to the national aspirations of the Palestinian people. There is no force in earth that can put an end to the aspirations of the Palestinian people. We are very proud people. We are resilient people. We are not raising flags in the Gaza Strip, in Jerusalem, or in the West Bank. We are continuing the march for freedom, for liberty, for dignity, and people like our people deserve to succeed, and friends like you deserve, to give us all the help that you can so that we can accomplish this objective. And I thank you very much.
Ambassador Mansour, thank you for your very powerful and passionate remarks. And thank you also for joining us today. And please convey to President Mahmoud Abbas and to the Palestinian people the assurances of our continued support and solidarity. I now have the distinct honor to request His Excellency the Prime Minister, Mr. Mahathir Mohamad, to deliver his keynote address. On behalf of the committee, I thank you for being with us today. I thank you for being an inspiration. You have the floor. Yes.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera and a good evening to everyone. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I have always had mixed feelings whenever I am invited to attend a conference concerning the Palestinians and Palestine. My stand and Malaysia's stand is well known. We support the Palestinian cause all the time. Now also we will be supportive. I am proud and happy for our commitment and continuous efforts to address their plight. On the other hand, I am sad that despite all our efforts to protest and demand for justice and the end to the oppression, their sufferings persist. I am also angry that powerful nations and self-proclaimed defenders of justice, freedom, and democracy are keeping silent, or worse, are party to the perpetration of injustices and cruelties inflicted on the Palestinians wantonly by the Tel Aviv regime. Most hurtful is at times when despair creeps in and the sense of helplessness overwhelms us. Everyone speaks of justice and freedom, but turns a blind eye when friends and allies commit all these wrong deeds. But I hope that such feelings are fleeting. We bounce back, just like today, stronger and reaffirming our commitment to the cause, and we will never stop until we see Palestinians and the Palestinians get the justice, freedom, peace, and security that they deserve. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to congratulate the organizers and its executive committees for their commitment and persistence in organizing this event. It is a noble effort. The theme for this year's conference, Southeast Asian Support for the Rights of the Palestinian People, aptly highlights the key message on the rights of the Palestinian people, consistent and in line with what the United Nations stand for. I am equally honored that the committee had chosen Malaysia as the host for this conference. I believe this choice reflects the strong and consistent position that Malaysia has always taken with regard to the Palestinian plight. This conference is indeed a testimony of our collective reaffirmation of our undivided stand on the plight of the Palestinians. Ladies and gentlemen, having had the opportunity to see the growth of ASEAN from the very beginning in 1967 until today, it is clear that the grouping has succeeded in sustaining itself. Not many other regional groupings could claim such durability. ASEAN has made the integration of countries with different levels of economic development, political system, ethnicities, and cultural backgrounds a success. It is a story worthy to be told and shared. These remarkable achievements in economic integration and cooperation registered over the past years were not achieved merely by chance, but through design, through sheer hard work, commitment, and above all, dedication. In many ways, these are reflections of the values and determination shared across ASEAN nations by its leaders and people. I urge ASEAN member states to continue our cooperation not only in the realms of which we have been consistently growing together, but also in the pursuit of justice and peace for the oppressed. Our collective voice regionally should espouse more than just economic development. We should also extend a united front in supporting the rights of the Palestinian people. This is the primary purpose of this peace conference. This conference today is a congregation of global representatives, individually and collectively. We can utilize all the platforms available, both ASEAN and non-ASEAN, for us to continue voicing our concerns and register our outrage over the inhumane and barbaric acts that the Tel Aviv regime has inflicted on the Palestinians. We are duty-bound, and this responsibility is further amplified when powerful nations that had styled themselves as defenders of justice and freedom choose to be silent while the atrocities are committed. And we cannot afford to practice double standards where gross injustice is concerned. Ladies and gentlemen, the position of the United Nations on the two-state solution has been defined throughout the years by the relevant Security Councils and General Assemblies. They have reiterated that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict should be resolved according to UN resolutions and international law. It is no wonder why so many nations, including Malaysia, have rejected the so-called deal of the century. The unilateral announcement endorsed and instigated by the Israelis without any attempt for dialogue or negotiation with Palestinian representatives from the West Bank or Gaza is a mockery of international efforts to find a solution to the Palestinian-Israeli ongoing crisis. Furthermore, to call it the deal of the century bespeaks of the ultimate in dishonest brokerage. The deal forgoes key issues at stake for a just solution. The plan would abolish the right of return for Palestinian refugees displaced by the 1948 war and their descendants, a key Palestinian stand. The deal is contrary to Security Council resolutions and the principle of a permanent two-state solution based on the 1967 borders. The realization of the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people and the right of all states in the region to live in peace and security. It does not respect previously signed agreements and commitments. To suggest East Jerusalem as Israel's national capital would grant Palestine limited autonomy in parts of the West Bank. If at all, at the same time, it would allow Israel to annex all its settlements there and keep nearly all of East Jerusalem. Thankfully, this has been deemed illegal by the international community. Israel will get Washington's permission to annex all of its illegal settlements now littered across the West Bank, as well as the vast agricultural basin of the Jordan Valley. I believe that under international law, annexation of an occupied territory is considered a war crime. Israel will continue to have military control over the entire West Bank. In the proposed agreement, Palestine would not be allowed an army, whereas Israel will control its security, borders, coastal waters, and airspace. The occupied state would be forced to accept the plan within 4 years. Otherwise, Israel will have a free hand to start plundering yet more Palestinian territory. Malaysia finds the proposal utterly unacceptable and grossly unjust. Let us not forget that the international community back then was responsible for the creation of the State of Israel in 1948 and drowning the existing State of Palestine into anonymity and oblivion. Ladies and gentlemen, it was on the 14th of May 1948 that the State of Israel came into being, literally with blood on its hands as a result of the forcible seizure of villages and land from the Palestinians who had lived there for historical times. The declaration of independence by Israel contrasts with the fate of the Palestinians so much that the latter deems the date as the day of catastrophe. The Holocaust lasted 6 years, and the Nakba has been going on for more than 70 years. The pro-Israel nations were quick to hold a tribunal at Nuremberg to try Nazi war criminals, but has any tribunal been established for the Palestinian victim? Palestinians have always been advised to forget the past and start anew wherever they may be. The paradox is that they lived out the consequences of the past every day as oppressed people under a violent military occupation, as powerless minority in Israel, or as marginalized exiles in refugee camps in neighboring countries. Yet the Israelis will not allow the world to forget the Holocaust, and ironically, it is the Palestinians who have been made to pay a heavy price for the Holocaust. Every time we discuss about Palestine, the Holocaust affair is mentioned. I cannot understand why we should relate Palestine issues with the Holocaust. The Holocaust was not caused by any Palestinian. It was caused by other people. And now the people to be punished for the Holocaust would be the Palestinian. If there is gross injustice, this certainly is the grossest of injustices. While Malaysia wants to be friends with all countries and respect their sovereignty regardless of their ideological beliefs, we must continue to speak against injustice and in defending the rights of the oppressed. Malaysia's foreign policy towards Palestine has remained the same since we became an independent nation. We will always support the Palestinian cause. The Palestinian Declaration of Independence proclaimed the establishment of the State of Palestine on 15th November 1988. Many countries, including Malaysia, promptly acknowledged it. While Malaysia remains supportive of any genuine efforts made by any party aimed at achieving a just and comprehensive peace to the Palestine-Israel conflict, Malaysia stands by its position that the creation of an independent state of Palestine through a two-state solution based on the pre-1967 borders with East Jerusalem as the capital of Palestine is acceptable. Some of you may recall that in November 2013, the Kuala Lumpur Foundation to Criminalize War held a tribunal against the State of Israel for war crimes and crimes of genocide, along with other civil society initiatives across the world. We hope that the International Criminal Court will take note of this blatant case of injustice of the century and institute proceedings against Israel. On that note, I wish to again congratulate the Committee on the exercise of the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people and the Perdana Global Peace Foundation for organizing the conference together with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Malaysia. I would also like to thank the Malaysian NGOs, media, and other agencies for their unswerving stand in solidarity with our Palestinian friends. I hope you will have a very successful conference and a good stay in Malaysia. With that, ladies and gentlemen, in the name of Allah, the Merciful and the Gracious, may He bless and give you the strength in your struggle for justice. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Mr. Prime Minister, for your truly inspiring statement. The committee appreciates the support that Malaysia